and then we'll go prop it open the whole way.
Okay.
Generally, when we let everyone in, I just open. All right, let's call to order the November 26th Lititz Borough Council Meeting. Mayor?
Good evening, everyone. Welcome. I'd like to have Missy Geibler, the chaplain for UPMC, give us our invocation this evening.
Please bear with my cough as we bow our heads. God grant us the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, the courage to change the things we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. We ask this tonight as many have over the years, and we ask this in regard for our common good. We lift up the borough workers, the council members, the law enforcement team, first responders, and citizens of our peaceful community. We pray for grace and consideration for all. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you. Could please rise for the pledge of the flag? Pledge allegiance to the flag.
All right. As you guys see on the agenda, we have two sets of meeting minutes from both October 29th and 12th that we need to review and approve.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the October 29th council meeting minutes as well as approve the November 12th council meeting minutes.
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved. All right, number one on the agenda, we have a presentation for the South Cedar Street subdivision. Applicant here. Yes, please.
My name is Jeff Bolby of Trimble Surveyors, representing Mr. Benedict, who's present here, who owns the property at 762 and 772 South Cedar Street. It's currently a 6-unit apartment, but it's deeded as one property. His goal is to subdivide it into 6 separate properties. This process started in May. We went to the zoning hearing. Lititz Borough requires 25 feet of frontage. The houses, the party walls are just a hair under that. So we got granted approval at the zoning hearing in May and went through the planning commission last month and got approval of that. We have a letter from DMA and a letter from Lititz Borough, Elijah, and absolutely clean letters. We set all our property corners. We set a letter in, so we don't need escrow release for that. And we're looking for approval for a final subdivision to turn that 1 unit into 6 separate units.
Council, I know you guys were, a couple of you were chatting that you had attended. Any commentary, questions?
Nope, I don't have any. It seemed pretty straightforward, and I think you satisfied all of the conditions before the other bodies, so I have no comment.
I know at the planning commissions, one of the biggest comments was making sure there was a party wall. We went into every single unit, and I was personally in it and saw the basement and the attic from each side for all units in between, just to verify that that was going to be kind of a sticking point or requirement. So it does have it, a firewall through each unit.
Thank you for looking into that.
Yep.
I have no questions.
Chris, I know you're online. Do you have any questions?
I do not, Steve. Thank you.
Any questions from the public? Okay, if not, I'd be looking for a motion.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the request for 762 and 772 South Cedar Street subdivision with relief per the memo dated August 11th and also the Planning Commission minutes dated November 5th.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved. Thank you. All right, we have We have two agreements, 566 and 567. Ken, I'm going to turn those over to you.
Thank you, Steve. So the Lititz Borough is involved with a water main replacement on Front Street, and we're down in the next block. And looking ahead, we have a right-of-way easement of 15 feet that's on private property, but to get proper access to do the lateral replacements, we need another additional 10 feet to gain access. So we have an agreement here that compensates the private property owner as well as with finances, a financial sum of $1,700. Well, also the borough has taken on the responsibility to replant 2 trees that would probably be lost with this construction activity. So that's sort of the background for this particular agreement.
Do we have an estimate on the cost of, I wanted to get down there and will admit that I did not get down to look at those. Do we have an estimate on the cost of the trees? Are they large trees? The cost of moving those trees?
I know the agreement says moving the trees, but I think a better way to look at it, we're replanting the trees. Mary, so good point. It does say that, but I think they're too big to move. So we're probably going to replant.
So we're talking about replacing the 2 trees.
Sure. Yep.
Is that right?
Right.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying that.
Any other questions?
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to approve Agreement 566, which is the granting the easement at 425 Front Street that compensates the landowner financially and replants 2 trees at the borough's expense.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved. All right, you're going to take the second one also, Ken.
Sure. So, folks, we've this is led by Rob McFadden. We recognize in our Infomark agreement that there are some opportunities for improvement, just to help the relationship flow a little better. We've recognized some things that we need and that Infomark can help us with. And so we've just restructured the agreement in a healthy way. So let me just give some highlights of what we're talking about. Currently, the year or the agreement year is from February 1st, 2024 to January 31st, 2025. So we're not really on a calendar year, and our recommendation was let's change it to a calendar year. So we're moving from that to a January 1st start date and December 31st end date in the same calendar year. One of the other big opportunities for the borough is to leverage the Infomark's experience to developing a capital improvement budget, so we can forecast needs 1 and 5 and 10 years down the road. So they'll be submitting that to us each year on September, not only with what needs to be fixed, but what the cost should be or what an estimated cost should be. So that's a big improvement. That gives us visibility and it helps us manage our resources. Some of the other things are minor. It's language changes in the contract. It's base rate compensation language, and also addressing some of the insurance liability needs for cyber, pollution, and excess that addresses those values. So this is a healthy agreement. It's updated, so we're in favor of that. Any other questions from council?
Can you just remind us when that contract expires currently? Expiration date, do we have that, the term of that contract?
Yeah, I think it's 2026 would be the 5-year. Yeah, it's a 10-year contract with 2 5-year increments, and I'm pretty sure it's 2026.
Okay, great, thank you.
All good, everybody? Okay. I'd like to make a motion to approve agreement 567 that addresses the Infomark agreement and the second amendments that have been added.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
If I can just add a note there, I do believe that it's been quite some time since we've bid these services. So I think we need to be thinking about bidding these services out next time. Just very happy with your services, but just in respect of the taxpayers doing our due diligence, we might want to put that on our calendar to look at rebidding that.
Thank you, Mary.
where were we? We had a motion and a second. Did they all in favor? Opposed? I was trying to remember where I was. Opposed? Motion approved. Okay,
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought we had finished the vote. Sorry, Steve.
no worries. All right, moving into the council members forum.
I think that's
Same
me.
topic.
Gentlemen, we have Infomark present, and Doug, you're going to present? All right.
First of all, I'll go over the finances for October. We were $2,335 under budget for the month. Currently, we're $56,401 over for the year, for the 11-month year. And I plan on being a lot closer to that. We don't have any major repairs, expenses, or chemical purchases to make for the rest of the year. So we should be coming in pretty close. And then I did want to mention that we did sell nutrient credits, 1,265 phosphorus credits and 10,522 nitrogen credits. Total was about $33,263. Flows at the wastewater plant were 2.9 million gallons a day average, which was down 6.3% from September. The water plant daily flow was 1.66 million gallons, which was down 9.7% from September. And all the wells currently are not in drought conditions, just so you're aware. So noteworthy events. We did finish up our initial PFOS, PFOA sampling. All the results that we got were considered by the state to be non-detect. Therefore, we won't have to sample every quarter. Going forward, it'll be once every 3 years. And that'll start in 2026. We had 8 emergency call outs at the wastewater plant for just minor resetting alarms, things like that. Nothing major to report there. As far as capital projects, the PS1 wet well gate, we're still waiting the contractor to confirm a date for when we're going to be doing that. That was on the budget for 2024. The NIR pump rebuilds in progress, as well as we do have a tank mixer on order. Well 3 at the water plant, I reported last month that it was back online. It was online for about a day, and we found out that there was a defective part. The shaft was bent, and it messed up one of the bearings. We have to pull that again. The contractor is going to be liable for any cost incurred for the replacement. However, we do have to wait for PP&L to move the line again. So once we get a date for that, hopefully in the next couple of weeks, we'll get that done. And then we are taking steps to get that line moved so that we don't have this issue in the future. And finally, staffing. We are currently fully staffed. We had 2 new employees start on the 18th. And that's all I have, unless anybody has questions.
Will that PP&L line, will that be at their expense or ours?
Unfortunately, no. And they are going to charge us for depowering it again this time, since it's the second time. And that actually runs right over the well. So in order to get the crane in there, they have to depower it because they get really close to that line.
Any other questions, council?
No, I just want to thank Doug for really taking a hard look at the wells, making sure that we didn't need to make any calls for people to do voluntary water conservation or anything, and checking that out for us. It was a concern as I saw the level in the streams and
Sure.
saw what was coming.
Yeah,
what
we're
was happening
faring
in
we're
the
faring
region,
very
so
well.
thank you.
Very well. We're not even at the voluntary levels, and hopefully we got some rain coming up, and we won't have to worry about it at all. But we'll keep an eye on it.
Rain's coming right in time for Thanksgiving, right?
Thanksgiving Day.
Thank you.
Great, thanks for coming tonight. I'd like to make a motion to approve the Infomark report for October, and that would cover both the water and wastewater facilities.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
That was an aye. Sorry, it was
Okay.
just delayed.
I think that's it.
Motion approved. All right, moving on. Tanea, you've got 2 things here on streets and traffic.
Okay, first one is one of my favorites, the Fire and Ice Festival. That's going to be running from February 13th through February 23rd, from 4 p.m. in the evening on the 13th through also 4 p.m. on the 23rd of February. It's going to be downtown Lititz, put on by Venture Lititz, expected about 40,000 people. So I'd like to make a motion, question. Anybody? I'd like to make a motion to approve the Fire and Ice Festival special event permit.
Second?
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved.
Okay, next one, Maple Street. So if you were here at last month's meeting, Lititz Springs Park informed us that that they're going to be closing Park Lane after the holidays, Christmas holidays. So Borough is going to go ahead and send out notification letters to all the residents to inform them that live in that area of the potential change, and then invite them to come to the next Borough meeting if they've got any, to give us their feedback. So at this point, that's where we're going to go with that. One more thing. I just wanted to say to whoever's in the room and can hear it, who's listening online. A little over a week ago, we had that fire, and I could see that fire from my house, and it was unbelievable. So I just wanted to give a huge shout out. Thank you to the Lititz Fire Company, to Wesk. I know you were flying down that road to get there. All the first responders, the police departments, everybody for that intense fire, and just even the local businesses and all of the community members that donated and supported all the affected individuals. It was certainly dedication and teamwork, so it's definitely appreciated. And I think that's all.
I'll second that.
One question I want to ask specifically on this ordinance, and just to understand the thoughts behind making that one way, and this is the question, I don't know whether Chief or Elijah, is the thought that there's going to be additional traffic going westbound from that? So in my head, I've always thought there'd be more traffic coming the other way rather than going through the park.
You mean come eastbound from the school?
Yeah, when I'm over there to pick up my kids, when people often leave there, they're going, everyone's either trying to obviously go out towards Orange and then go down to Orange. But if you're over there at 3:30 in the day, like there's a lot of people doing the park.
Mm-hmm.
So my concern has been, what are all those people that were doing the park going to do? So I've had in my head that the problem is actually people coming eastbound rather than westbound at that, when schools are let out.
So right now they can't go eastbound because it's one way
Yep.
after Walnut Street anyway. And so that was the thought, is that it continues going one way that way, but yes, they'll be going out onto Orange Street. And that's one of the things we're going to be looking at is timing of that light in the future. And I'll talk about that during my report.
Yeah, that's the one thing I think I mentioned it to you before in sidebar conversation. I'd like to, before that gets closed, I know we probably don't have time to do a formal traffic study, but just to know how many cars are going through the park that are going to suddenly now have X number of cars trying to get out to Orange. If anybody that is there at that time of day trying to get a kid home, it's crazy. It's crazy, and we're going to throw even more cars on Orange Street.
Yeah, Steve, I share your concern with the traffic going out onto Orange Street. And I think, Chief, you and I discussed that a little bit the other day. So, the sense is that it shouldn't be a problem, but I think we do need to keep an eye on that.
Yeah, because it gets backed up. I
Maybe
mean,
take a
from
look at
from
it.
Broad all the way to the church, it's backed up like literally at like 310. I mean, personally, I'll try to go about around the wreck, and I'll try to do 6th Street and go all the way around to my house, which is a hike to get around there. But it's probably the only adjustment we'll be able to make is the timing of the Orange Street, Broad Street light for that time of the day. Okay. Is there anything we need to do with this today at this point?
I think so. Gonna
Okay.
send the letters out.
All right, moving on to Ken, Finance.
Okay, we have two items of business tonight. Let's see here. So the first item of business is to approve a budget that we can advertise to the community, okay? So let me give you some background. On Tuesday, November 12th, we had our budget meeting presentation for the 2020-25 budget year. And what we learned is that we have more requests for expenses than we have revenue coming in. So council requested that the finance committee develop some options for us to consider over the last 2 weeks that would allow us to achieve a fund balance that's acceptable, accept some of the requests, but also defer some of the requests to 2026. So that was our task. We met on Wednesday, November 13th, and crafted 8 options for council to consider. At that point, the Finance Committee asked Rob McFadden to publish those 8 options out to the councilmen and women and asked for their review. He also was charged to contact each of them and get their feedback on what they were in favor of, and also answer any questions that they may have or help them with any understanding that they may need. So that, and then tonight I'm going to ask Rob to work with me here and produce share the results that we had. He's going to share briefly some of the options that we were all looking at. He's also going to share what the responses were, just the results. And so, Rob, as you come on up, we appreciate that.
Sure. So I'm going to do my best here to kind of spin around and see everybody. Yeah. So as Ken said, we try to do our due diligence here as you guys requested after the workshop meeting. The 8 different options all varied around adding in some expenses and taking out others from all different departments throughout the general fund. And the basic summary of that is that the council members that I spoke with were generally in favor of increasing the paving expenses and doing some combination of deferring police department promotions and deferring a new hire within the police department. And that was really the summation of what we spoke about.
So, Rob, does that give us a fund balance percentage that is acceptable with our resolution?
So right now, the fund balance is 27% as we sit here now. It would depend on how much you wanted to increase the paving expenses. And if you wanted to, what combination of deferring the police department hires, how that factors in. So long story short, I'm going to need to know some numbers to plug into the budget so we can get a budget to advertise. As I told council, the basic rule of thumb is $100,000 either way moves the fund balance percentage by 1%.
Deferring the one hire is till when? Is it deferring it for the entire year? Is it deferring for 6 months of the year, 9 months of the year? But we're still looking at moving forward with the other 2 hires because there was 3 proposed originally, right?
Correct. Yeah, the basic math was if you just put back the contingency in for the paving, it's $101,000, just the contingency. And if you hire 1 police officer, it's roughly $70,000. So that would be like the quasi trade-off to get your contingency back in.
Okay.
Keeping in mind that as we stand now, your fund balance is 27%. That fund balance, you can go up or down, whatever you choose.
Rob, that contingency of 101,000 was for the 3/4 of a mile, which is what we put in the budget, correct?
That's correct.
But if we wanted to increase paving back up to, I believe what the original plan was, which was 2.1 miles, and add the contingency for that entire, can you just explain that?
Sure.
If we bump it back up, then the
Sure.
contingency will be higher than the 101, right?
Yep. If you go,
It's
a percentage of.
Yep.
Right.
so if you add in the paving of what we plan to do, the 1.2 miles, your fund balance would be about 17%.
Remind me what we don't want, remind me of the numbers,
19 to 35.
is what we're comfortable at being.
Correct.
So, Rob, I think when you look at the new hires, we have 3 patrol officers on the budget plan, but some of council are recommending maybe hold off on the 3rd hire until January of 2026, and when the police chief is off the payroll. So that would that's the wisdom behind that.
Yep.
Reduce some of the strain on the 2025 budget.
So that you can have contingency for paving.
Right.
And I think the other thing we looked at was maybe putting a hold on the promotions in the police department until we get through the police chief hire to find out exactly what we want to do with future of the of the police department in terms of policing here in the community. So I think that's also part of it. Is that correct?
It very well can be. It's whatever you guys want. There's a whole bunch of different options out there. But yes, that was something that was discussed.
Okay.
So with your point, Jerry, it's just a matter of deferring it until when? You know, is there anything in this, we got to decide, do we want anything in this year's budget or nothing at all till next January?
I have a procedural question. How do we handle these suggestions, recommendations for what goes in and what goes out tonight so that we can come out of here with a budget to be advertised? Is that what we're doing tonight?
Yes,
So
we're
do we need
advertising
to-
what we're going to agree upon. So the procedural is Ken's listening as the chair. He's going to make a proposal based on what he's hearing tonight, ultimately at the end of this as to what we're going to advertise.
One other point, Mary, in support of what Steve just said, is that this isn't a final budget. We still
Right.
have time to talk about it, and you'll see a comment from me later on this, but this is not a final budget.
Right, but in terms of getting a budget that we are voting on to advertise, we need to have that discussion now and hopefully reach consensus. And with the consensus, you will make a motion to amend the budget in that way. Okay, I just wanted to understand procedurally how we were doing that. So,
Okay, so what I on the table are those 3 points that are changed from what we discussed last month.
so I'm in support of going back up to the 2.1 miles of road and contingency. Is that, or do we want to bring that number down a little bit for the paving?
Yeah, I think, first off, I think achieving our goal for paving is admirable. We've stood behind that. We have expressed that for years now. So I like the idea, but I also think we need to have a fund balance that fits within the parameters. So if we do that to the full amount, it'll be 17% fund balance, and that doesn't work.
Yeah, I don't think we
So-
can at all
so we
go
need
back
to
that 2 miles.
Lower maybe our alignment with paving to a point where we're at 25, 24.
What's that look like then, Rob?
What's that number for paving?
Figure another approximately $100,000 per percentage. So right now, if you're at 27 and you go down 2 drops, that's another $200,000 that could be applied to the paving projects. And now your contingency would change. It would go up. Would have to do the math on that, but that's essentially what you're doing.
Well, I guess what I'm trying to figure out is, do we say 1.5 miles? We're going to commit to 1.5 miles, or how are we putting a number in, or are we saying how many miles we're committing to doing?
I think
That's
what's
what-
on the table right now is the 3/4 miles plus the 101 of contingency.
Okay, that is,
Mary,
yeah.
let me jump in. Tanea, help me out here, though. I think our goal annually is 1.5 miles. That was what council decided about 3 years ago. That's what we need to do to maintain the integrity of our roads and keep moving through the borough of 28 miles we're responsible for. If we do it every 19 years, 1.5 miles a goal. So we're going to be up some years and down another year. So to Steve's point, the budget covers 3/4 of a mile. What you're seeking is to raise that amount.
That's correct.
But it might not be miles, it might more be financial. What can we afford? So it might be your point, but just phrase a little differently.
What's the dollars for the 3/4? What's in the budget right now?
Just for I'll call it the asphalt part of it's about $462,000.
What's currently in the budget is the 462, and we're proposing the additional 101 of contingency.
Correct.
So we just got to say, okay, what Mary's proposing is adding another whatever, 1/4 mile, whatever, to the mile, up to 1 full mile. So proportionally, how much more that's going to add current budget.
Yeah, and you would also have to increase the contingency as well.
Right.
So it's
So
like
right now we've
compounded.
got roughly $563,000 budgeted.
Yeah. Excuse me, I'm in favor of finding a way to increase the potential for street resurfacing. I know it's an area that our our residents are concerned about. We have a lot of traffic here in the borough, and it's important that we figure out a way to respond to that. So if we could do that, I would appreciate that. I know we had also talked about some other capital expenditures. When do we talk about that? Or we talked about looking at a couple of those as well.
Well, currently, the Public Works Department has a line item for capital improvements, about $10,000. They submitted more than that, but right now only about $10,000, and that's essential because that helps outfit the new dump truck that they've purchased, and they need that to get it equipped and get it into service as soon as possible for their projects. There were other capital requests made by the Public Works, but they're not in the current version of the budget. The police department had several capital improvement projects. One was locker rooms, one was handguns, police car, that was all on, and those have been deferred at this point till 2026.
Okay, just wanted to make sure we noted that in the
Yeah,
original
I think
one.
the only three that we're looking of, the ones that were discussed last month, are those three. I'm all about, trying to stick to the goal of having more paving done because of the commitment we made years ago. I just want all of council to realize, what's proposed right now is the 3/4 with the 100, and it's got us at that 27%. So any more that we add to that, obviously that number starts to reduce.
Well, Steve, to Mary's point, I think we could change the language a little bit and say we could be in support of the hiring process for the police department, but then we could provide up to $300,000. And I haven't done the math yet, but we could achieve still a fund balance somewhere around that 25 to 26%. That gives you more for more paving, but going any further beyond that, I can't answer that question right now. Does that jive with what your estimates would be, Rob?
Yeah, that math is good. I'd also like to add with this, where we're kind of currently at, what Steve said, the $100,000 for contingency for paving. If you play that out time-wise into 2025, hopefully our paving would be done July-ish. And if we get into a situation where we're not using much, or if any of the contingency, you then have the flexibility to then say, okay, are we still in a spot where we want to hire somebody? Is it full year? Is it half year? You have some more flexibility within the general fund if that contingency is not used or used to its entirety.
Right. Yeah, because you're getting 3/4 for 462. So if we did not use the contingency, you can kind of do the math and say, okay, that will get you at least another quarter mile.
And you could do that for capital as well.
Yeah.
If you change your mind and all of a sudden we need a police car, like you could, if we didn't use contingency, you would still have some flexibility there.
And I need some flexibility relative to the hiring of the police chief as well. So can't tie ourselves into something, but if we have some movement, we don't know exactly when that'll take place, but it's important for us to be aware of that.
Yep.
So you're saying to budget for 3 police officers, but we're only approving 2, and then that difference we can use as.
That difference gets us roughly $70,000.
Okay. And then let's say we added another quarter mile that we want to get paved. What would that, let's say it's another $200,000. Let's say we wanted to spend towards paving. What would that get us mile-wise? Another quarter mile?
I can look it up here. Just give me a sec.
Okay.
What was that dollar amount again?
I just said
Was it
200.
200,000. So we could do East Orange and part of North Lane. That's about 1,200 feet. So that's close to a quarter mile. if my math is correct off the top of my head. See, the paving is difficult because it's based on the width and the length that we're doing. So it
Square.
fluctuates from road to road. We have it broken down by different roads. It would just find that combination to meet that dollar amount.
How many so many ways to dice this. Would it be possible to put a dollar amount in for roads? And then I think I hear you saying that we know we would just need to pick which roads
Yeah.
then based on
Yeah.
what our budget allocation is. We'd need to look at the
Yeah.
condition of those and
Right.
prioritize those. Also thinking about what the other conditions are. Do we understand with any of those that are on the paving schedule what the water, sewer, stormwater features are that would need to be addressed on all of those?
I think they know some of them, and part of, they follow the paving plan based on the infrastructure
Okay.
upgrades they've done. I would say, let's set on a number. Let's not debate what that's going to end up being. The Public Works Department say, okay, you have X number of dollars, and they prioritize and we get through that. I think the goal tonight is we need to say, what's the dollar that we're going to allocate solely for paving?
Okay, so the initial budget that we reviewed at the budget workshop had 3/4 of a mile paving with no contingency,
$462,000.
462 there. Okay, and then option 1 was paving 2.1 miles. Does that include the 0.75?
In addition to,
It's in addition to, okay. So 2.1 miles at 700 and, let's just call it 790,000. And that's paving plus contingency. If we took half of that, that would put us at, let's just say 1.75 miles, right? Because you're saying the 3/4 of a mile is still in the budget, but then we're adding another mile if we take half of what was in option 1. So 1 3/4 miles. So now we're looking at 462 plus what's half of 790?
Roughly another 400,000.
400.
Another 400,000. So that's another, that's 4 points, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we were at 25,
27,
we were at 27, so that puts us down at 23.
roughly.
Thank you, Ken, for being the numbers guy.
Thanks for the simple math.
23. And our goal is to be between 19 and 35.
Right.
And even if we had that money set aside for the paving, and like Rob said, if up until July, we realize there's, we're not going to need a contingency at this point, and we have that extra money, then maybe we can do a phase 2 of the kind of like we did this
You
year.
could pick a couple of the other
Right.
roads that you weren't going to do at the
Right.
time, if the
Right.
contingency's on.
Right.
Right.
Instead of having a contingency in addition to this.
Again, I think what we need to do is just get to a fixed number, total number, including that we feel comfortable with funding within the budget. So if Mary is proposing adding another 400 to the 462, is everyone comfortable with a number that's floating around at 850, 860?
And what's that bring us down? 23%?
Today, I'm estimating somewhere around a 23% fund balance.
And what did we end of what was the end of our year fund balance last year? What percentage again, remind me?
49.
49.
I believe that was it. Is that right, Rob?
Don't we need to add another 101 though for the contingency on the
Well,
0.75?
What I'm just suggesting is let's just get to a number of the
I'm trying to
850.
get at the number. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get at the number. So if we were at 462 for paving for the 3/4 of a mile, and the contingency for that 3/4 of a mile is 101, and then we're adding another 400,000.
I'm saying the contingency was again adding the other 400.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
so
you're saying
let's
put the
take,
contingency
I
in
like
there.
where we're
Okay.
going. So Mary's taking us to a paving number. Mary, what we'll do is when we add more paving, we'll have to change the contingency on that.
Right.
but if we have a number to work towards 400,000, we can actually do that when we get to the.
I'll generically say if we land on that 800,000-ish number, what we're going to loosely say is 200 of that's going to be contingency. So you're going to have 600 as your base and 200 as your contingency.
Yep.
Making
Mhm.
kind of say we had 460 with 100 contingency
Right.
now. So that's kind of where I'm rounding those numbers. But where I'm just saying, let's land on the total number of what we're going to spend, including contingency, would get you up with what you're proposing is in that 850 mark
Mhm.
to keep us at the 24%.
So 850,000 for paving and contingency
Including, yeah.
for 2025. I'm comfortable with that.
And that number includes all the other things we talked about, the policing issues,
Yeah, we're
you know,
deferring,
yeah.
what
Just-
I've
just
heard
review
so far
the-
is we're still
just
deferring the
review
one
those
hire and
again.
deferring the
So-
promotion. And that we're deferring those for the full years, but if you want to have conversation on that, as a personnel committee chair, are you good with that? Deferring those costs entirely for the year?
the cost for,
One additional hire and any other promotions beyond the chief.
I like a little more flexibility there if we could find it. Yeah.
So let me just try something here. So Mary, if we wanted to move forward, would we all be in agreement of increasing funding for paving up to $400,000? That's what we're,
Up to 4.
well, that's
So
what,
increasing it up. another
that's what we have to do
400,000.
tonight. There's already money there.
Right.
So we're saying increase it up to $400,000 for paving. I'm not saying contingency, or I'm not separating it out yet, but we know how that would look. And then supporting the hire of 2 police patrol officers for 2025. That's the 2 things that we've talked about you're in favor of.
Yes, as long as, again, we've got some money for hiring a new police chief.
That's in there.
And
Is it
yes,
there?
we do.
Okay.
Yes, we do.
Okay.
What I was asking, Jerry, anything outside of just the
No,
chief?
no. Okay.
And let me just ask a question on the 2 police officers. Is that, when does that start, Rob? Mid-year? Because there's obviously, it's not like we're going to, I know we want to start the process, but there's a process, so it's not like it's February 1. Okay. Okay.
This might be a good time, Chief, to get an update on where we're at with that process in terms of applicants and.
Jerry, let me
sorry.
just table that.
Oh,
Bring
okay.
that back up during the personnel. Let's
Okay,
finish
okay.
the finance discussion,
Okay.
but table that and bring that up during the.
Thank you.
So there are currently positions posted. I just need a little bit of clarity from the chief on this, I think. There are 3 positions posted, or is, okay.
And that would take us to,
Where we were a year ago.
Okay, good discussion. Are you ready for me to make a motion?
Let's open to the public for questions specifically on this topic about advertising of the 2025 budget. Anyone have any comments? David, come on up.
David Carson, 220 East 6th Street. A little history. Back in 2023, you raised taxes 63%, brought in $950,250, and that was to be used to pay for paving. That's what the money was for, right? So now, in the year 2023, you had a profit of $1.6 million. Okay, so you're saying at the end of 2023, you had a 49% fund balance. Now you're telling us, I have no idea, I've not seen any of these numbers, obviously, but your target now is 23%, but you're not giving all the police money and you're cutting back. So where is the money being spent? I don't understand. You're only spending if we go 400,000 more in paving, you're up to 800, you're still 100,000 short than what you brought the taxes in for. So that was only 2 years ago. So is there some kind of shell game here? You said you want to raise $950,000 for taxes for paving. You had a $1.6 million profit in 2023, 49% fund balance. So we're basically cutting half of that out in 2025 budget. But we're still struggling to even get close to where the paving is. Where's all the money otherwise being spent? Is my question, if you can tell me, because I don't have any of the numbers, obviously.
Is that the last of your questions, David?
Well, I'm going to stay up here and see if anybody wants to have a discussion. I have a minute and 40 seconds left, Steve.
I'll wait until you're done with your minute 40 and then I'll.
Okay,
answer
well,
it.
thank you for your time here. Anybody have any answers? Any questions? Why we went from 49%, now we're down to 23? You had a $1.6 million profit last year?
David, we will come back to you with those questions at the public meeting on the 10th.
Well, you're talking about it now. Why not now, Steve?
Because
You said you wanted to talk about the budget. Here I am.
we're going to take those questions and Ken will prepare responses.
You have
on
to
the 10th.
advertise a budget tonight. Shouldn't the public know?
They're going to advertise it. He will have responses to that on the 10th for you.
So why
Thank
can't you have discussions now before everybody can vote
you. Do you have any
transparently?
other questions?
No,
David?
I'm having a discussion. I'll see if anybody else wants to speak besides you.
Ken, you mentioned at the last meeting, you gave an explanation about that surplus.
Yeah.
You want to talk about that
Mhm.
again?
Hey, good evening, Dave.
Thank you.
We had a budget meeting on the 12th and we answered that exact question. And we had a diagram on the evening going through that math to explain to you and anybody else. And I believe you were online.
I don't see any, I don't have any numbers in front of
Okay.
us yet, so I
But
can't really say.
Dave, it's a good question, but what we're experiencing is that you have to look at our budget over multiple years. You have to. So as you balance through a fund balance and you see rising expenses quicker than you have rising than your revenue, that catches up to you. And so that's in a simple way, Dave, that's what's happening is our expenses are rising faster than our revenues are.
And 63% tax increase 2 years ago. You should have maybe thought about that ahead of time. Of course, Steve cuts me off.
Thanks,
Thank
Dave.
you, David. Anyone else? Okay. Like your motion, Ken?
I've just one quick question. Anything on the revenue side that we found to be adjusted?
There are some minor things that can't be reported. There'll be action items for next year, Mayor. I guess that's a better answer. We'll work on that, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I just want to say that, I took a little hard look at this budget to try to figure out where we could get some savings. There's a lot of fixed costs relative to staffing and union contracts and that kind of thing. I think we've done a really nice job of sorting through that. If you look at the percentages of what we're spending for, our highest percentage of spending has to do with public safety. That has to do with the police department, it has to do with fire safety, it has to do with those kind of things. The second amount of spending in terms of category is our infrastructure, our streets, the things that our citizens really count on. And the third part is relative to recreation and our parks and that kind of thing. So I think our priorities are correct in terms of where we should be spending our money. And I think we are working now at refining that to make sure that we're able to afford things going forward. So I'm supportive. Well, make your recommendation. I can just weigh in at that point.
Thanks, Jerry. Okay. All right. I move to approve the advertisement of the 2025 Lititz Borough budget with the following amendments: that we hire 2 patrol officers in 2025 and that we increase the funding for paving up to $400,000.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved. Thank you, Ken.
So there's a couple final points here. Jerry, there's a couple things that we haven't been able to learn much about, and that is I'd like you to take the opportunity to speak to the chief and the police department about the administrative role that they were talking about in the budget. And so if you could have that conversation with the chief.
So
Yeah.
what we need to do, since we haven't had a chance for the Personnel Committee to take a look at that, is between now and the time that our final budget is approved, Chief and I, if we could have a conversation about that position, what it's going to entail. And I know that there was also a request for some increased salary for one of the persons. We'll need to talk a little bit more about that to see what that reasons for that. So yeah, so that gives me as the personnel chair to get in front of you and have conversation about that. So understand what we need and how that's going to impact the budget. Okay, thank you.
And then one final announcement is that we will have a public meeting. It's a question and answer period for the budget of 2025 on December 10th. That's Tuesday evening at 7 o'clock in this room. All right. The second item of business is to look at the financial statement for October. Council, you'll see that statement in front of you. You'll see that for 2024, we've collected about 96% of revenues. And then on the expense side, we've realized about 89% of our expenses. However, we have some very large invoices yet to pay, and most of those invoices are around the paving projects that we completed this year. There is one error in the expense side. There was a coding mistake made with extra funding given to the fire department, and that'll be corrected and restored. It's about $70,000. Okay. Any questions? Okay, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the financial statements for October. They are invoices.
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved. Rob, where's that feedback coming from?
I'm not sure, Steve.
Everyone muted on there? On
Everybody
Chris.
but she's obviously not in the room.
I think
Okay.
it's radio interference. I've experienced that in an adjacent building here before through the PA system.
Just it
You ever
sounds
had
different
that?
than some of the feedback we've got in the past. Okay. Gary, personnel.
Yes, thank you. Personnel. For the first item on the agenda is approval of the 2025 through 2027 police contract, as well as approval of the 2025 through 2027 Public Works contract. At the last Borough Council meeting, I provided an update on the negotiations with the Police Department and the Public Works Union. I noted that our goal of the Personnel Committee was to include a 3-year contract, which includes competitive salaries and benefits that do not require a tax increase, but also promotes the ongoing retention of our employees. And we were able to accomplish that. I want to take time now to thank the Personnel Committee members, which included Chris Setznick and Steve Lee and myself, and our negotiations with the Police Department and the Public Works Union representatives. Our contract negotiations went very well. There was respect and mutual cooperation among all of us, and I feel like we have come to a good decision on these contracts. They're very detailed, they're very involved. This is my first time going through those contracts, so it took me a little time to get up to speed, but people were gracious and gave me and the rest of the committee information that we needed to make a good decision. We also took time to analyze other borough contracts to see where we stand to be competitive, and we arrived, I feel like, at good numbers, particularly with the police department. We have a robust police department here. People would like to have our officers work for them as well and other municipalities, so we had to be very careful about how we structure that, and I think we were able to accomplish that. So we distributed the contract to the council members. We were not ready to do that at the last meeting, but we have done that. We have gotten sign-offs both from the Police Department Union and the Public Works Union to sign the agreements. With that, Steve or Chris, if you have any comments about contracts, that would be great. And then I would be open for any council questions before we move to approval.
I know we've talked about this for quite some time, and the other person I would add, thanks, and is Rob,
Yes.
because we made him go back to the board 20 times with comparisons, and we made sure we weren't the highest. We made sure we weren't the lowest. We did a lot of comparison with other municipalities similar to us. That was our target, our goal, and I think we can a good place, police final negotiation.
Thank you. Chris, do you have any comments?
I don't have anything other than just to reiterate your thanks to everyone involved for all their hard work and efforts and due diligence.
And I'll just add to, we are at a point we do need to get this contract through. We're almost at the end of the calendar year, probably the furthest we've gone without actually having a signed contract with the police department. We need to make sure we have a police department. We have to get a contract executed.
Any other other questions from council members?
I just have a couple of questions. I want to ensure that ensure that by signing this contract, provisions are included within the contract that would allow for a change in the structure and delivery of services. Should that be a decision that the borough chooses to make after looking at cost containment structures and so forth?
I'll answer that one, Mary. One, yes, there is a clause in the contract that were to happen. And I'm actually going to look to Sergeant Detz to step up here and at least just state the clause in the contract, basically what if there were a change. I mean, I'm going to paraphrase it, but it allows the current officers an opportunity to become part of whatever a new structure might be.
Okay, thank you.
Right. So, ma'am, if you have a copy of the contract, it's Articles 37 and 38, specifically 38, allows for a police merger or consolidation and just speaks to that and what would happen that if the borough engages in layoffs, then officers, by virtue of consolidation with another police department, they would have to allow those officers to be employed and then transferred to that new force without taking additional tests or passing any additional qualifications. And then there's a guarantee of seniority and rank within that consolidated police force.
Okay,
And that
thank
clause has been in the contract for as long as any of us could remember.
Since 1991.
There we go.
Great. Thank you for clarifying that. The other thing that I wanted to raise is I know that we did not vote tonight to include funding in the budget for guns, which was one of the requests that had been given. I believe there is a provision in here that allows for officers to have an amount of money that they can use to purchase equipment themselves, and they will be reimbursed for that equipment. I just wonder if that's a provision that would help with those who may choose to upgrade their firearms to be able to do that. I don't know if that's the case.
Answer, Steve, I don't believe that's what that clause is for, but
that could work.
Correct. That's not what that's for. That's to supplement anything that's not supplied. We also don't allow our officers to mix and match weapon systems.
Okay.
They have to be consistent. So.
Okay. I just was trying to find a way to get you all what you wanted since we weren't able to include that in the budget. So
right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions from Borough Council? All right, well then I'm ready to make a recommendation that we approve the 2025-2027 police contract.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved.
I make a motion that we approve the 2025-2027 public works contract.
Second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 I'm going to be abstaining from that.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you.
No opposed. Motion approved.
Well, thank you very much. Congratulations, both from the police department and the union. I don't know from the union reps if you're going to be here throughout the meeting, we might be able to sign the contract tonight if it's possible.
If not, we can get it
If
done.
not, we can get it done another time.
From one council? Okay.
Okay, about the signing time. Okay, fine, thank you. I just want to make sure you're not talking about the contract.
Okay.
Okay. All right, great, thank you. Shall I
Yep.
move on?
You got two other items.
I got two other items real quickly. Reappointment to the Borough Authority, Lititz Borough Authority. Remember last time I talked to you a little bit about the purpose of the Borough Authority, so I will not go into any more detail about that. But I have a recommendation for the Lititz Borough Authority appointment. I'm recommending Jeff Bolbley to the Lititz Borough Authority. Jeff is born and raised in Lititz and graduated from Warwick High School in 1997 as a graduate of James Madison University. In fact, he was here tonight and made the presentation. He has children attending the Lititz School District. He's the owner of Trumbull Surveyors. His company has surveyed many developments here in the borough, which included Warwick Woodlands. The Borough Authority, he's also been a member of the Borough Authority for a while, and he also coaches wrestling for 4th and 6th graders. He's been an active member of our community, and according to the chair of the committee, he's made a very valuable contribution. I met with him for a while, and he's very happy to continue to serve. The Borough Authority requires a certain kind of expertise and understanding, and Jeffrey provides that. So I'm making a motion to reappoint Jeff Bolbley to the Lititz Borough Authority for a 5-year term effective January 1st, 2025.
Enthusiastic second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved.
Secondly, I have a recommendation for the Lititz Park Committee. Last time I talked a little bit about the responsibility of the Planning Committee and the Lititz Borough Authority. The Park Committee, the purpose of the Park Committee is to make recommendations for maintaining the borough parks and equipment and for developing park resources for effective pleasure and recreational uses. How many people here know how many parks the borough manages? How many? I think it's 6. Yeah, that's correct. That's correct. Not including the Lititz Springs Park. So we have a great opportunity for the Parks Committee to enter into negotiations about how those parks are run. So we're fortunate here in this community to have this kind of resource. So I am recommending Charis Pancroft to membership on the Lititz Parks Committee. Charis has served on the Parks Committee since January 2020 and is currently the chair of the committee. She's been an active member of the Lititz community, attending community activities. She's a graduate of Warwick High School, and her children attend the elementary school here. She's a graduate of Penn State with a degree in, listen to this, outdoor adventure programming and environmental interpretation. So therefore, she's uniquely qualified to be a part of the Parks Committee. She believes that the community is stronger when we work together and make it safe and a healthy place for all. And she is willing to continue her role in the Parks Committee and serve another three-year term. So I'm making a motion to reappoint Charis Pencroft to the Parks Committee for a 3-year term effective January 1st, 2025.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion approved.
I just want to mention to the community that we've made an effort to get more participation and applications for these committees. I have received now more interest than I have openings, and so I'm trying to figure out a way we can engage those people in some of these committees as a place to learn, as alternates, that kind of thing. Just to let you know that we in this Lititz Borough are blessed with a variety of people who are really concerned and have a passion They want to share their resources with and their expertise with our community. And so I thought about that during this Thanksgiving time, that I am thankful that we have that kind of commitment from this borough. If you think about the commitment that we make here on Borough Council, all the committees, the volunteers, the volunteer fire people, people on various boards in our community, it's a way that makes this community unique because we have people who do care. And the fact that people have been applying and showing interest is a real affirmation to us. So I just wanted to note that.
Moving beyond personnel. Chris, you have anything additional on planning?
No, nothing to report.
Mary, zoning?
Yes, I do have one thing tonight I just want to share with other council members. I know it's been a long time coming for the redevelopment of the toy soldier, excuse me. The owner, the developer with Warwick House Lititz LLC was at the zoning hearing board last week for another 6-month extension on his variance. He's run into some more problems there, trying to get the health certificate and the liquor license. Due to no fault of his own, he's run into some real challenges there, and expects that will be resolved very shortly. Hopes to start construction in April and have the construction done within a year. So just wanted to give a quick update on that from the zoning hearing board meeting last week. Any questions? Ask Lori.
Thank you, Mary. Moving on, Ken, building and grounds.
Buildings and grounds, we did not meet. We didn't have a president until tonight. We got her reappointed, so there's no report.
Jerry, benefits and insurance.
No report tonight.
Mary, regional plan.
Regional plan. I'm going to ask Elijah to take this one.
So we've met with the superintendent last week to just brief him on the regional plan and what was going on. We also hosted a workshop between Planning Commission, Zoning, and HAC after the Planning Commission meeting this month. Thank you, Mary. The Historic Area Advisory Committee to essentially talk about the ordinance and possible changes to the ordinance in respect to the regional comprehensive plan, and Planning Commission still is evaluating the map amendment that is recommended by the future land use map. Did I miss anything, Mary?
I don't think so. We're still working on the organization for the implementation committee structure. So more to come on that.
Okay. All right.
One other quick thing. We are waiting for the final edits to the plan to be completed and be posted on the Strengthening Community 2030 website. Draft is still up. Elijah is in communication with the firm that's handling that.
We're hopeful to have it by tomorrow. We'll see with the holiday if that gets up, but as of this morning, it wasn't complete.
That's it. Thank you.
All right, moving on, we have the report of the borough engineer. We have David Miller's report. We also have Scott here if anybody has any questions. Or Scott, do you have anything to add to your report? Okay. Council, any questions? Scott's report. All right, we'll move on to the mayor and chief of police. We'll start with you, Mayor. You have anything?
Nothing.
Okay. Chief.
With holiday season upon us, we normally bag parking meters for free parking downtown. So we're looking at Friday, December 6th to do that through the Christmas day. Sometimes we have bagged them earlier in the season, but now we have these new meters. We do have to pay a monthly fee for monitoring those meters. So if you approve that, that's when I'll take care of it. So it'll be Friday the 6th through the 26th or so. They have to be manually bagged, and I typically do that. So
Friday the 6th through 26th.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You're looking for a motion tonight.
To be your approval, yes.
I'd like to make a motion to bag the downtown parking meters from December 6th through December 26th
Correct.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Not hearing any. Motion approved. Thanks, Chief.
I know Jerry had said something about the new applicants. Going to kind of look at Steve. I want you to correct me if I'm wrong. Detective Sergeant Detz and Detective Savage are the ones that do the backgrounds, plus all the other things they're trying to do. So we have 9 applicants, Steve, is that correct? And we just kind of got into the process of that. So we'd probably be looking at sometime in maybe January or February, do council interviews and hopefully have a hire at the end of February with a start date in beginning of March. That's our tentative plan at this point. So they really haven't gotten to the weeds yet too much with the applicants. So that's what we're looking at.
And without getting too far into the weeds with the applicants, are any of them ones that would have to go through the academy, or are they
No, they're all
trained?
all are either in the academy and going to graduate or already have pre-existing
Okay.
service, police service.
Okay.
Any questions?
Thank you for that update. It's good
Okay.
to hear that process. Just keep me in the loop as we get them going, and so we can schedule the meetings, the personnel meetings with them.
We'll do that. Thank you.
Thank
Any
you.
questions? Thank you.
Thanks, Chief. All right, reports by the managing directors. I'll start with Elijah. We have yours. You want to share anything?
Sure. Just a couple highlights. We did receive the 100% plans for the Norfolk Southern runabout line. They were submitted to Norfolk Southern from Colliers, who is our engineer on that. Colliers is working a final estimate. That's both for Norfolk Southern for the bidding and for us for our state grant requirements. The other thing is we did put in a scoping application for Green Light Go, the newest round. This would be for a 2026 project, most likely. And we're looking at possibly upgrading the detection system at the West 2nd Orange Street traffic signal, in part because of the concerns with both school traffic existing and the possibility of additional because of the closure of Park Lane. If we were awarded that, it would be an 80% payment, and then we would cover 20%, but that's something we could address in next year's budget.
Any questions for Elijah, council? Rob?
Just a few things to point out and to add to my report. The lead service line inventory information is all done. You guys should have received in your packets a little memo for talking points. We just feel like the whole thing is really confusing, so we're trying to make it as simple as possible for staff and for council members to be able to answer questions in an intelligent way. But we've met all the obligations that the state has put down. And long story short, we've got about 183 galvanized lines in the borough that need to be replaced. Certainly, if you have any questions on those memos or whatever, please reach out. All the paving is done for 2024. We're just waiting on the invoices and checks to be cleared, things like that. Our 2025 audit. The field work was done on one day last week, November 20th. That went very well. There's a few council members that have some questionnaires to fill out, but as long as we get those back before January, we're okay to go. And the last thing I just wanted to say is we added a few safety items downstairs. So if you're checking in or coming in sometimes, we have added a sign-in sheet now, as well as a little barricade across there to for no public access back like to where Lori is without an appointment. That came up in one of our safety discussions. Was encouraged by the police department to do something, to put some signage up, and that's finally all done. That's all I have.
Any questions for Rob?
I just want to give a shout out to Rob for all the assistance you've provided with the budget work in a really busy time. Thank you.
All right, no new business, no unfinished, no other. Coming to public comments and questions. This is a time for any questions, comments on any items that have not been discussed, not on the previous agenda. If you have any questions, come up, state your name, state your comments. Come on up, David, as long as it's not repetitive or redundant, come on up. It cannot be anything you've already said this evening, last month. Unfortunately, sometimes you don't remember, David.
Unfortunately, you're wrong.
As long as it's not redundant.
Okay, Steve, you're redundant. Okay, the David Carson, 220 East Sixth Street. In the year 2023, Lititz Borough Council adopted public comment procedures for their meetings. Procedure number 9 states in part, speakers during public comment and persons in attendance must refrain from abusive or profane remarks, slander, or personal attacks. At the November 12, 2024 draft budget meeting at this council, a person spoke in person at the meeting during the public comment section of the meeting. From the beginning of this person's comments and throughout her entire comments, this person slandered me and made personal attacks against me. This person slandered me per se. Look up the legal definition. Instead of enforcing council's own rules, the borough council president did not stop this person from making such slanderous remarks and personal attacks against me. To the contrary, he let the person complete her remarks, and at the end of her comments, he stated he appreciated the person making such comments, even though they were uncomfortable for her. He appreciated her comments. He continues to monitor the situation at the park, and he appreciates her courage in speaking. Every person and entity that participates in the slander and defamation of me will be held to legal account. I will take all appropriate legal action against such persons and entities. In addition, the Borough Council President should be held to account for his not following borough procedures, even though he likes to remind me of the procedures all the time. Council members should elect a president that will follow its own procedures and not potentially put the borough in legal jeopardy. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, David. Any other comment? Come on up. Say your name. No. Come on up. Come on up. Address your comments to us.
Absolutely. My comment is Jason Burkholder, 37 East Lincoln Avenue. I think the Borough Public Works has done a fantastic job with leaf cleanup this season. I just wanted to say that.
Thank you, Jason.
Yes.
Thank you.
Any other public comments? All right. No more, guys. Somebody, one last motion.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you for coming.
Motion approved. Thank you.